60 years ago, on May 16, 1966, the Cultural Revolution, a social-political movement in the People's Republic of China, was launched by Chinese Communist Party Chairman Mao Zedong and lasted until he died in 1976. The Cultural Revolution was launched with the stated aim of protecting Chinese communism by removing capitalist and traditional influences from China. In May 1966, Mao Zedong, supported by the Cultural Revolution Group, began the movement by claiming that bourgeois influences had infiltrated the government and society in an effort to restore capitalism. Mao urged young people to bombard the headquarters and declared that to rebel is justified. Massive unrest soon spread across Beijing during the period known as Red August in 1966. Large numbers of students formed militant groups called Red Guards, while quotations from Chairman Mao Zedong became central to Mao's cult of personality. By 1967, radical factions began taking control of local governments and Communist Party branches, replacing them with revolutionary committees and often dismantling existing police and judicial institutions. Rival revolutionary groups frequently clashed violently. After the fall of Lin Biao in 1971, the Gang of Four rose to prominence and the movement continued until Mao's death in 1976, followed shortly by the arrest of the Gang of Four. The revolution brought widespread violence and instability throughout Chinese society. Estimates of the death toll vary greatly, but commonly range from 1 to 2 million people. Major atrocities occurred in regions including Guangxi, where massacres and acts of cannibalism were reported, as well as in Inner Mongolia, Guangdong, Yan'an, and Hunan. The Red Guards targeted the four olds: old ideas, culture, customs, and habits, leading to the destruction of countless historical artifacts and religious and cultural sites. Millions of people were persecuted, including senior communist officials such as Liu Shaoqi, Deng Xiaoping, and Peng Dehui. Intellectuals and scientists were often denounced as part of the stinking old ninth, while people associated with the five black categories faced severe discrimination and punishment. Schools and universities across the country were shut down, the national college entrance exams were suspended, and more than 10 million urban youths were relocated to rural areas under the Down to the Countryside movement. After Mao's death, Deng Xiaoping emerged as China's paramount leader in 1978, replacing Hua Guofang. Deng and his supporters introduced the Bulian Feichang program and began the reform and opening up, gradually dismantling many cultural revolution policies and ideas. In 1981, the Chinese Communist Party officially condemned the Cultural Revolution, describing it as the most severe setback suffered by the country since the founding of the People's Republic. Because of its enormous impact, memories and interpretations of the era remain deeply complex and sensitive in modern China, where it is often called the 10 Years of Chaos or 10 Years of Havoc. On May 16, 2003, the 2003 Casablanca bombings were a series of coordinated suicide bombings that took place in Casablanca, Morocco. The bombings were carried out by 12 suicide bombers linked to the Salafia Jihadiyya. The attackers detonated explosives hidden in backpacks at several locations in Casablanca, including the Casa de España restaurant, the Hotel Farah, the Jewish Alliance of Casablanca, and areas near the Belgian consulate and an old Jewish cemetery. The attacks were later claimed by Al-Qaeda and became the deadliest terrorist incident in Moroccan history, killing 45 people, including 33 victims and the 12 suicide bombers, while injuring at least 100 others. Although Jewish sites were deliberately targeted, none of the victims were Jewish because the attacks occurred during Shabbat. Of the original group of 15 attackers, 3 abandoned the mission at the last moment and were later arrested. The bombings took place during a period of growing influence from radical preachers who denounced the Moroccan government as un-Islamic. Many of these figures were veterans of the Soviet-Afghan War. Questioning of the surviving bombers led authorities to Abdelhak Bentasir, the leader of the terrorist cell, who reportedly required members to swear loyalty to him after becoming followers of a radical preacher. Bentasir later died in police custody under unclear circumstances. In response, Moroccan authorities launched a major crackdown on Islamist terrorism. More than 2,100 suspected terrorists were indicted, resulting in over 900 convictions and 12 death sentences. Shortly after the attacks, the government enacted a strict counterterrorism law that was widely compared to the United States of America Patriot Act in the United States. The attacks also drew attention to the poor living conditions in Morocco's shanty towns. In response, the government introduced anti-slum initiatives the following year. The slums of Sidi Momen were eventually demolished after another series of attacks in 2007. And on May 16, 2011, STS-134 took place. It was the 25th and last spaceflight of Space Shuttle Endeavour. STS-134 delivered the Alpha Magnetic Spectrometer and an express logistics carrier to the International Space Station. At one point, STS-134 was expected to be the final mission of NASA's Space Shuttle program, unless Congress approved funding for STS-135. However, in February 2011, NASA announced that STS-135 would proceed regardless of the funding situation. The later mission flown by Space Shuttle Atlantis used preparations originally intended for STS-335, a contingency rescue mission that would have been launched if the STS-134 crew had become stranded in orbit. Design modifications to AMS-02 and delays involving STS-133 caused repeated postponements to STS-134. The first launch attempt on April 29, 2011 was cancelled after issues were discovered with 2 heaters connected to one of the orbiter's auxiliary power units. The Space Shuttle Endeavour successfully launched on May 16, 2011 at 8:56 a.m. and completed its final landing on June 1, 2011. The astronauts consist of Commander Mark Kelly on his 4th and final Space Shuttle mission and final time in space, Pilot Gregory H. Johnson on his 2nd and final Space Shuttle mission and final time in space, Mission Specialist 1 Michael Fink on his 3rd spaceflight and his 1st and last Space Shuttle mission, Mission Specialist 2 Flight Engineer from Italy Roberto Vittori on his 1st and last Space Shuttle mission, as well as his 3rd and final time in space. Mission Specialist 3 Andrew J. Fustel on his 2nd and final Space Shuttle mission. And last, we have Mission Specialist 4 Gregory Chamatov on his 2nd and final Space Shuttle mission and final time in space. So that's all the events I have for today. Those who are interested, don't forget to leave a comment down below and subscribe. This is Stephen Luke, and thank you for watching for another history update. And this is my first historical milestone video after returning home from college and for my graduation ceremony. To those who are Chinese, never forget May 16, 1966.